It's Impact with the Florida Star, the largest, oldest, and most read African-American newspaper in Northeast Florida and South Georgia. And now, here's the host, the publisher of the award-winning Florida Star, Clara McLaughlin.
Hello. This is Opio. I am sitting in for Miss Clara McLaughlin, the owner and editor of the Florida Star newspaper. Also on Star TV 18.2. Y'all make sure y'all pick up a copy of the Florida Star newspaper. Been around since 1951. And we are the newspaper that's going to give it to you when nobody else will. We fight against the big powers and those other media outlets that don't want to put those stories out there the right way. We make sure that, particularly black people, that we look out for you. We've been doing that for a long time. We are unapologetic about it. And we're going to continue to do it as long as you continue to help us. So you have to go out there and pick up a copy of the Florida Star newspaper. And also, when you have an event or you have something big going on, advertise with us. You know, we like to give away a lot of stuff for free. But we can't operate unless you hook us up. So when you're in your board meeting, you whatever you got going on, always mention the Florida Star and say, hey, let's advertise on the Florida Star. And so we'll be around another 65 years. Boy, we got a great show lined up for you today. You know, it's a lot going on. I got my co-host, Roy Akachi. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing today,
man? Look what we got in here.
Oh, my gosh. We got stars in here. We got some street stars. We got some street community. Oh, my God.
Now, we got Councilman Reggie Brown. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful.
Anointing in him.
And we got Kim. This is Pastor Kim, Apostle Kim. This is D. Kim Daniels right here. How you doing?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. We want to talk about just a number of things, right? And if you guys go off on a tangent about anything, we're going to be happy that you're doing that because you know way more what's going on and what needs to be said to the people than we do. Okay?
All right.
Now, what is going on with Corrine Brown?
Now let me start with this. I think we need to lay the foundation down for the community first.
Yes, sir.
And I like for everyone that is in the Word to turn to Proverbs 24:17. And it says, do not gloat when your enemies fall. When they stumble, do not let your heart rejoice. Right. And I think that foundation is appropriate for what's going on in Jacksonville today.
Yes.
When I listen to sidebar conversations, for all that Congresswoman Brown has done here in Jacksonville.
Yes.
When I hear or see people that look like me seem to be a little excited when I'm sad as to what's going on.
Right.
And I was thinking, what foundation can I send out across the air to let folks know this is not the time to rejoice. Right? This is not the time. What we need to do is pray.
Yes.
And we need to lend support to Congresswoman. I can tell you that being an elected official, it appears that there's an attack on African-American elected officials, not just in Jacksonville, but across the board. Right. And so, and we're held to a higher standard. You know, and this has been my experiences over the last 8 years. Right. So, what's happening with Congresswoman tomorrow in terms of the indictment? It doesn't mean conviction. It just means that there's enough information to start an inquiry. Right.
You can indict a ham sandwich.
You can.
So
exactly.
This could be one of those things that once again they have something going on with Congresswoman Corrine Brown. It goes through and nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it seems like when you read the report, it says there's a lot of shady, murky stuff. They don't know who said what. This person's not allowed to say this thing. She may have benefited, may have not. She could have done everything right, but somebody else did something wrong. Those type of things, it seems like when I've read, are the basis of what they have. And so you're right. A indictment, and a lot of that's, I think almost all of it's done in secrecy, says that there's something there to pursue.
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is why I'm taking the position that I've taken. I'm gonna support Congresswoman Brown 100%, and we have to recognize as a community that it's our responsibility to choose our leaders.
Yes,
Right?
that's right.
What people don't understand what's at stake with removing Congresswoman. She's a majority. She's a senior leader
Right.
of Congress.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and so we have to understand that they want to pull her out from that position because whomever we send will be in their initial stages, their rookie year. All right, and so that means that they will be given what committees are left.
Right.
Whereas Congresswoman can choose her committees because of
Seniority.
the amount of time. Yes.
Seniority.
Her seniority with being in Congress, and so. The African American community in particular, but see, it's just not African Americans that have benefited from
That's right.
Congresswoman
Veterans.
being in office.
A lot of veterans have.
Veterans,
White
community,
Whites,
Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
You look at a lot of the things that she's done that has benefited Florida, and not just Florida. But people have a bigger interest, and that is to bring down our power
Exactly.
in our community and to tell us who we should have in office.
Yes.
And we should say to the world, we choose our leaders. No one choose our leaders. And this is what I believe this is all about. This is just to bring down the power structure that Congresswoman Brown brings from her congressional district.
And have some people during this election season, is when it comes along.
Absolutely.
Have some people thinking, well, is she going to run? And some people might not even know that, yes, she's still going to run, and more than likely she'll win.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to know more about this case, I wish they would have released more information because they were talking about this organization called One Door to Education, and I know there's been published. We've published a number in the Florida Star, a number of people who have benefited from scholarships from Representative Corrine Brown. So this might be a situation where she say, here's the information right here. You guys did not have, thank you. And so that could be something that she throws in that mix in the way of people receiving scholarships. I don't know if it's through One Door, but there are other ways that people have received scholarships through Representative Corrine Brown for years and years and years.
Well, I would like to say that I am not familiar with any of that, but I am so honored to have worked with Congresswoman Corrine Brown over the years, and I'm honored to be endorsed by her, and I believe that this thing too shall pass.
Yes.
You know, there have been many attacks. You know, this is not the first time that she's been under fire like this.
Right.
Everything else has passed, and this thing too shall pass. I believe that this is a time that our community we need to rally, we need to come together, and we need to stand together, because any kingdom divided against itself cannot stand.
Right.
You know, I have to speak about Congresswoman Corrine Brown from a personal position of working with her, and she really delivered, and I've never seen anybody that love her community and work as hard.
Yes.
Listen, to be honest with you, sometimes we be hiding from Congresswoman. Congresswoman, she coming in town.
I don't have enough time.
Listen, I'm a sprinter, okay? I'm a sprinter, and you know that Congresswoman is around 70 years old. I mean, she never stopped. She working harder than Reggie Brown. I'm just kidding. Reggie Brown always working, but all jokes aside, you know, and laying it down just like it should be. When the enemy comes in like a flood, and he has, he's been coming from every direction, then God raised the standard. And I believe that it's time for the standard to be raised in our community. I mean, you just cannot forget that Congresswoman Corrine Brown is the one that fought for this seat when there were no representatives that look like us. You know, she's a pillar, she's a part of the foundation, and the Bible says in Psalms 11 and 2 that if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And that word foundation means to be politically and morally correct. And it's time for black folk to get their politics together. We can't hit and miss this. You know, one of my favorite scriptures is that I'm not ashamed of the gospel gospel of Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be a part of anything that I'm ashamed of. And I believe in our community. I believe in our congresswoman. And I believe that though it may look pretty bad, it may look bad, in the end, if we do what I believe the Lord is calling us to do, man the gates of our community and get in the gaps and get on the wall and make a difference. And when we do all that, I believe that the results will be great for our community, and we're going to come out on top.
Amen. Now, I sat on a consolidation task force. It showed that on the north side, there was a lot of promises made back in 1968 time frame. A lot of promises that were made to the north side, but those promises did not come through. Even, I forget what the former mayor, one of the older former mayors came through, and he said, yeah, black people were told a certain thing, were sold a bill of goods, and they never really received what they're supposed to get. Now, we saw recently, or we heard recently, we read recently, that you had some projects or some monies that you were wanting to get, and I'm talking about Reggie Brown, and ultimately that money didn't get there. It found its way to some firm, and of course we all know Carrie Stewart, and her name was mentioned in it, and so on. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, this is what's going on in Jacksonville right now. When we receive bond money, those dollars are for what they call capital improvement projects.
Right.
Right. So when I came on the council, and if you date back this particular situation, it goes all the way back to 2009. Coming in, I wanted to get a lot of things done. That was Payton's administration.
Okay.
I wanted to get a lot of things done. I had some projects that I believed in, whether it was a water park, whether it was a city stadium, things like that. And what I was told is that you have to have projects, what they call shovel ready.
Right.
So my question is, in order to get community development block grant dollars, you have to be shovel ready. So my thing is, well, how do I do that? They said, well, you have dollars over here that you can use through the housing department to pay for this service.
Right.
So I'm all in. Well, years go by, and I'm looking for these designs. I'm looking for the work so I can start to put motion for a city stadium and things of that nature that I've been working on, and only to find out that there were no designs, and it was the money was consulting fees basically to give, I guess, an opinion, if you will, on if they thought that it was a good project. Well, that's not what I was looking to do. I really needed something tangible, so it can be shovel ready, so I can apply for those federal dollars.
Right.
But when I realized that the dollars were not spent correctly, I asked the council auditors to do an investigation.
And you asked that during the Brown administration?
Brown administration.
Right. Okay.
Then it came out during the Curry's administration. So it took some time to get that information. Those dollars will go back into my coffer, and we would do some other things. Most of those things would probably be at Lonnie Miller Park. Actually, it's pretty exciting what's going to happen there. I'm looking at a water pad for kids so they can come out during the summer months and enjoy the park even more. So the concern, though, that people are raising is that we have several systems when it comes to practices and standards.
Right.
Okay, so if you remember William Sweet, if you remember his situation, $25,000, slightly misappropriations. He was placed on probation, if you will, my understanding. But what I do know is that he was terminated from the city, and he had to pay those dollars back.
Right.
Right. But that's not the case here. And so I do have some.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, but I have.
So that firm doesn't have to pay the money back because that was $300-something thousand. Then it went up every year to ultimately $800-something thousand.
Right.
Wow. They don't have to. Well, it seems like the current administration is saying, "Well, we'll pay that back because this is our girl right here, our homegirls right here." I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think that the system that I'm looking for is a across-the-board system, fair for all. And when we look at situations like William Sweet,
right,
and we look at this present situation,
Carrie Stewart doesn't have to pay the money back.
Yeah. So and that's really, I guess, if you look at what's highlighted, if you look at what's highlighted, then that would be the major difference. And so one will ask, well, do you file with the federal EEOC? It's down in Miami. Do you file a discrimination or disparity concern or suit because of the difference between the two? And those are questions that's coming up from the community.
Do we just let it go, give this money, and move forward?
Then keep keep moving
What
forward.
I want to ask you about, when we're going to go to the break, what I want to ask both you about is getting money into the hands of small businesses and making people wealthy on the north side of town. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
Okay, and also consolidation, I hope.
Yeah. This is Opio, and this is Impact. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Now you know the Florida Star, Northeast Florida's largest and oldest, most read African-American newspaper, serving since 1951 in more than 200 locations. The Florida Star, news you can use, news you can trust, the people's choice, striving to make a difference. The Florida Star is serving over 230,000 African-Americans living in Northeast Florida that generate $5.2 billion in buying power. Read the Florida Star weekly newspaper and find out where your money's being spent and on what. Read the Florida Star and learn what your city and state representatives are doing on your behalf. Read the Florida Star and learn how to support your neighborhood businesses. Read the Florida Star and learn how to receive city health and community services. The Florida Star received the first Eagle Award by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for being most factual. The Florida Star solely addresses issues of concerns for African Americans. The Florida Star carries local, state, national, and international news regarding African Americans. Subscribe today at 904-766-8834. The Florida Star, speaking truth to power.
Was the 400.
This is Opio, and we are back. We're talking a little bit about track. I remember when I was in high school, in junior high school, track was a big deal.
Oh my God!
It was like the track meets you stay out there all day.
All day in the heat of the heat. Oh my God!
But you got to see the most incredible natural talent when you talk about track. And there was always a whole bunch of black people around.
Always, that was our thing, man. That was our thing.
Right. I can't play baseball.
We can run.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about. There was a couple years ago, there was a study that was put on the cover of the Times Union, and it showed the disparities in blacks receiving contracts. So then we found out about all these waivers that the big businesses, they can go around instead of grabbing the subs and bringing them up. And sometimes you get subs that say, okay, that's fine with me, as long as you hook me up on another end on something else. We got white males that actually own the company, and so white women sit in and say they own the company, and now that's a minority business, and just all these tricks are being played. And then we do have something that's similar to empowerment zones, where in those zones there are certain type of monies that are allotted, particularly federally. How do we, and I know I'm saying a couple things, but the main thing I want to talk about is how do we make sure black businesses get the money that they deserve, because we know that the biggest correlation to crime is poverty. And when we see police brutality and police murders that we're seeing, you just talk about black people that are poor, that are the ones that are being killed by the police, all right? And so we believe that education and poverty can kind of deal with these things. Let me let you go, and both of you, and I apologize, I'm talking to Councilman Reggie Brown and Pastor Kim Daniels. I got my co-host in here, Roy Akachi.
Yeah, yours truly.
So talk about those things right there.
Okay, real quick.
Both of you.
Yeah, real quick. I authored the disparity study bill up under the Payton's administration.
Right.
That study, those findings came back, and there were some recommendations made. Unfortunately, the city of Jacksonville have not implemented those recommendations. Now, you have other entities like JTA. They have already looked at those recommendations and made some adjustments with their agency. So we're addressing
that. JTA got like over $1 billion, $1.2 project, and all these different.
Absolutely, but what has hindered the work or dollars going directly into the African American community back in 2004, 5, 6 in that area, up under the Payton's administration, the courts found that it was unethical, if you will, to have what they call a race-specific program.
Quota.
Right, those quotas, absolutely. So the previous administration up under Payton's and that council came up with a program called JSEB, Jacksonville Small Emerging Business. And this is where minorities, regardless of race, And in fact, it's not even about minorities. As long as you're a business person and you're a small business person, you qualify for those dollars.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, we have a couple of problems here. Normally, and I go straight to the graders of these contracts. Well, when you have graders that do not look like you or have your best interests, then you always seem to score low. All right, so we're going to have to look at, and this is one of the things I was talking about earlier, and you talk about education. We're going to have to understand that education is really our key to success.
Yeah.
We're going to have to send our children to college, force them to take some of those hard majors, engineers, and come back and take some of these jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if we're not at the table, I heard Congresswoman Brown say,
You're on the menu.
you're on the menu.
You're on the menu.
And the black community in Jacksonville is a part of the menu right now.
Oh, wow.
And so you ask how can we get those dollars come into our community? It's educating, but right now what we can do, if we can get black businesses to come together, work together, form partnerships, take their bond capacity and work together, right? And then show up at council, talk with not just the 6 African American elected officials on the council, but talk to all of them, all right? And let's start pulling the data, and let's show yearly what's going on, how much work is actually being done by African Americans. Whether the law says it's unethical or not, we can still get the data.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and I think the data is what we need to do, and we need to, in the Florida Star, publish. Well, if we're only getting 2% of the work in Jacksonville, we make up 30% of the city, but we get 2% of the work.
Wow.
So it's those things I believe that we have to do. But what I share with the pastors is that we would not have unity in our community until the pastors come together.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay? The pastors come together, the flock will follow. Our problem within the African American community, whether it's dealing with economic development, whether it's dealing with education, or any of these things, we are not united.
Yeah.
And when I talked about the foundation, I mean, the Lord says, don't gloat when you're enemy.
That's right.
And we're not
That's
enemies.
No.
All right, but he said, even if it's an enemy, don't gloat.
Don't gloat.
All right, and this is the word.
That's
I didn't
right.
make this up.
Right,
This is
right.
the word. And so, when we deal with each other, we should be definitely in a more supportive cast.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
You know,
That's right.
and we're not there. And so, when I look at one of the things that I look at as a council person, especially district, when these projects come in, if I don't see that African Americans in particular are a part of those projects, then I will actually hold it up, because this is the deal. And we have the thing called Section 3. That's another federal requirement. If we use some of those dollars, then we have to have participation. But what we don't understand is that anyone can be a Section 3 now. It's just not.
Right,
You just have to have a certain number, a percentage of African American workers with you. And so the government is doing a very savvy job, if you will, to keep us out.
Right.
And I think that exposing them,
Yes, a good old boy system.
regardless of where the government is, or the attorneys are, the court system is, we still report those numbers.
Right.
All right, and that's where we are falling short. And what has happened, the system would say, well, I'll work with you, to one African American contractor,
Right.
all right, to simmer down conversations. But that shouldn't be the case, you know. And so we have to, and I say, not working with each other, selling each other out, whatever term we like to use, we're going to have to come back around and learn to love and support each other and work together. This is how we're going to maximize getting those contracts.
Right. Pastor Kim Dane, how do we do that?
Listen.
And I know you're running for office, and I know economics is always something, because you're a business person too, and it seems like you've done really well at it. How do we do what Councilman Reggie Brown said?
I don't want to repeat, what he said, but I do want to say that everything that we're talking about starts at the polls. We have to make sure that we're represented. We have to make. So many people are discouraged. They don't want to vote. They're not even registered to vote. We need more presence at the local meetings, the city council meetings. A lot of times we sit back and we complain, but when issues come up, we send out emails. We solicit support from the community. I think that just riding on what Councilmember Brown said, our people, we need to be educated, we need to be informed, and more than anything, we must have a presence. You know, there's power in presence.
That's right.
And when Councilmember Brown spoke of the church, you know, a lot of wealth is in the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're teaching and we're preaching on wealth, and we always talk about public and private partnerships, but when the church gets involved, you know, the effectual fervent prayer of the righteous avail much, but faith without work is dead.
Yeah, that's right.
The church has so much to offer to the community, and I don't believe in all this separation of church and state. That's why I can be a pastor and a city council member. Mm-hmm. You know, there were black robe regiments. There were preachers who were involved in their community, and if it weren't for the churches, if it weren't for the preachers, we still be in bondage in America right now. The church is the nucleus of the community. So as a minister, I'm not just talking about how we can get more money to the small businesses, but let's look at the whole overall picture. The overall picture is that we need more unity in the community.
That's right.
Yes.
I know I hear the music. These police killings that's going on, we had a Vernell Bing Jr. that happened on 9th and Liberty.
Yes.
We had one happen on Moncrief right after that. We just had one the other day in Baton Rouge where the guy was shot in the chest. We had another one that was last night. Real quick, why don't y'all tell me how you feel about those things?
Well, it's unfortunate to have any killings.
Right.
I would say that. In the situation specifically to Jacksonville, the taxpayers are now asking for cameras.
Right.
Yeah.
They're also even talking about citizen review boards.
Mm-hmm.
But that is at a standoff right now because the sheriff actually reports to the governor, and we need to understand this. We said back in '68 that Jacksonville was a consolidated city.
That's right.
I repeat, Jacksonville is not a consolidated city. It's consolidated with exceptions. If it wasn't with exceptions, we have to understand how can an individual that lived down at Jack's Beach vote for the mayor of Jack's Beach and Jacksonville when if you're on the north side of Jacksonville, the north end, you can only vote for one mayor. Now, there's something wrong with
I can't vote for Atlantic Beach.
That's
mayor.
real. Yeah.
You can't do that.
Good vote for
Right.
Hey, Atlantic Beach. I'm from Atlantic Beach. Hello, Atlantic Beach.
God bless Atlantic Beach. Yeah. I never knew that.
A bigger problem is that right now we can't determine whether we're a city or a county.
Right.
All right.
Right.
And so when we're asking for things, and this is why I caution folks when they come out and they rally, understand where you are.
Right.
All right. So this city is operating up under the county.
Right.
Only for the sheriff.
Go for the sheriff.
All right. So the sheriff reports directly to the governor.
Okay.
This particular mayor and sheriff agree with the cameras, the body cameras, and so we're moving forward with that. But it was explained to me, and I just take this second to explain it to you the way that a young person explained, because oftentimes you will hear the community say things that's very insensitive, like, well, why they're concerned about the police shootings when black on black crime is the way that it is, much higher. Well, my daughter explained it to me tonight, and it was quite interesting. She said, Dad, listen, when a black person kill another black person, you just lost two people. One is dead, and the other one will be tried and convicted.
Going to prison.
If somebody in the street don't kill them.
Right.
Yes.
And the problem with the police brutality that young people are having is that no one is ever convicted.
Nobody goes to jail.
Nobody goes to jail.
That's the difference.
And so that's where we're going to have to, as a community.
You have a smart daughter.
And she talked with me about that.
Brilliant.
That's
real. Brilliant.
And so it had to make. I started to rethink because I was concerned with black on black crime.
Yeah. Me too.
Really,
myself. That was my thing.
The younger folks have a different position. They recognize and they say it's wrong.
Right.
But what's worse is that on this side of the fence, you have someone that's deceased now and someone that's going to jail.
Yeah, right.
On the other side, there's no justice whatsoever. And so they're looking for justice on that side. We're looking for justice. And I believe that, as I stated tonight with the NAACP meeting, which was very few people that looked like me was there, very few people, period. And we're going to have to support the NAACP.
Yes.
We're going to have to engage and get involved.
Absolutely. Oh, man, the show is over. The show is over. Oh, my goodness.
We need 30 more minutes. We need 30 more minutes.
We don't have the time. The show is done. So thank you, Councilman Brown and Thank you, Pastor Kim Daniels and my co-host Roy Cotter.
God
Appreciate it.
bless
This is
y'all.
Opio.
Wonderful
We'll
show.
see you next time on Impact.
Impact.